I got into cold email when I was in college. And the way I got into it was I didn't know what I was going to do after school. I had no connections. I was out in Florida, which was so far from where I wanted to be. I wanted to get a job in Silicon Valley or in New York City at a startup, like doing something exciting. And I felt so disconnected from everybody. And one way that I realized that I could talk to these guys is by sending them a cold email, a targeted email. I thought, hey, if I send an email to people that I don't know, maybe somebody will give me a shot. So I made a list of companies in Silicon Valley, and I wrote an email. It was a basic email. It was like, hey, huge fan of your company, would really love to join as an intern. And I sent it out and then waited. And after a few hours, I got a response. And it was with the CEO of a Techstars funded startup, which was really big at the time. And we got on the phone, we talked about internships, and while he didn't end up hiring me, he gave me something even bigger, which was hope. That cold email was the key to unlocking the life that I wanted. After that, I had the confidence to move to New York City. I just went out there and committed to a 6-month lease off absolutely nothing. And I landed in Manhattan. I went to a coffee shop and I sent emails, same as I was sending before, sent about 100, 150 a day to various startups in New York City, going from no connections to job in 2 weeks, just using cold email. It was a Silicon Alley funded startup, exactly the type of company I'd pictured in my mind in that bedroom in Florida, and I found them via cold email. So that was for getting a job. The biggest win I had with cold email was when I was working a 9-to-5. I was the top sales guy at this agency in New York City where we were selling millions of dollars of software. And I realized that I wasn't going to be there for long. There was a lot of back and forth with the director levels. People didn't like how quickly I was ascending in the company. They didn't like how I was acting. So I knew the clock was ticking. I was going to get fired. So what I started doing was waking up at 6 a.m., coming into the office and sending cold emails from 7 to 9 in the morning. And I was sending to people on this website back in the day called AngelList, which is where a bunch of other startups listed. And I was selling them lead generation services for $3,000 a month. Within 2 days of doing this, one company got back and offered to pay $3,000. And it was at that moment that I knew that I could quit my job, no problem. $3,000 wasn't enough to match my salary, but $3,000 was enough to give me hope that cold email was the key. And so I kept emailing. And within 30 days, I had doubled my income that I was making at that agency and got that agency as a client, all from the momentum of cold email. So we built the beginnings of this business, and based on the momentum of that business that I was building via cold email, I was approached by another rapidly growing lead generation startup to become their chief marketing officer. I owned 10% of the company. I would make videos on their behalf, and we would grow and scale this cold email business. So I moved from New York out to San Francisco to work on that business. And over the next few months, it was a wild ride. We were making YouTube videos. We were going to conferences. I was meeting heroes that I had looked up to for years. And the valuation of the startup, according to this founder, had cracked $100 million in revenue, making my 10% stake worth $10 million. And it was at that time that he invited me out to Tokyo to meet with some investors. I fly out to Tokyo, and things are a little strange when this founder is missing in action. Normally, you go to visit your team in another country, they're there to pick you up at the airport, but not this time. He said, oh, I'm coming in a few hours. I'll be there in 7 hours. Just walk around. So I'm walking around Tokyo. I'm wandering around the city. Strange city. I'd never been to Japan before. And I was confused, like, where's this guy at? Then the next day passed. Then the next day, I was just staying in a hotel. And after 3 days, I decided that I should just fly back home. So I flew back using the last of my money after getting into $40,000 in debt, living off this crazy lifestyle like I had $10 million because this company was worth that much to me. And I flew back home to my parents. After a couple days, what I found out was that the lead generation startup I was involved in was a scheme. The founder, who I had respected so much, was not just not delivering, but he was pretending to be other members of the team. So our director of production was the same guy as the founder. Our interns were the same guy as the founder. He was taking multiple salaries, had multiple fake LinkedIn accounts, and built this house of cards company that was rapidly crumbling around me as I was sitting in my parents' house at what I assumed would be a couple-day stop. Their clients were chasing me down, asking me for money I didn't have. This was bad. And yet, as all this was happening, I had that superpower of cold email. And I created an offer for marketing agencies to sell marketing plans to agencies in New York City. I made a list of the agencies. I cold emailed the agencies, same way that I'd done a few times before. And then one got back. And another one got back. And another one got back. And all of a sudden, we were closing deals. $12,000 deal here, $30,000 deal here, until we had booked $600,000 in annual recurring revenue for our agency in 30 days using cold email. Cold email saved my life. I don't know where I'd be without it. I couldn't believe it. That whole thing that I was working on for months was a scam. Imagine thinking you're worth $10 million, spending like you're worth $10 million, drinking, partying, going crazy, and then finding out that it was all made up. I didn't know what was true anymore. And I went into a spiral. I was smoking weed, I was drinking, I was playing video games, I was just partying hard. And it wasn't until I was at my rock bottom, drinking, when I realized if I was going to actually succeed, I had to cut out the drinking. I had to cut out the partying. I had to cut out any drugs I was doing. And I had to go all in on cold email. That $600,000 in ARR was for an agency called Experiment 27, which is still operating today. We're a 7-figure agency. I've got a team of 30, including my co-founder Robert, top salespeople, people around the world, now helping agencies and marketing companies succeed with cold email and other lead generation tactics like SEO or content marketing. And we wouldn't have any of that without cold email. Cold email was our #1 channel before we were able to grow from referrals. It is a game changer. I was able to talk to my heroes, book podcasts with them, ask them questions, and they were treating me like a peer because our company was growing so fast. I am so grateful for cold email and for the amazing team that it has allowed me to build. One thing that's always been important to my journey has been documenting. So ever since our first YouTube series, back when I was first an entrepreneur, I had this series called Make Money Week, where I went from nothing to my first $100, and that's documented. When I started a business, I had this other series called Build a Business Tour, where I documented exactly step by step, day by day, how I was building a company. So I love this documentation. And one of our videos, actually from my mom's basement, of me sending cold emails, ended up getting a ton of views and impacting the entire community. Now, there's an entire community of people all talking about cold email and growing together in terms of just Facebook groups, Twitter accounts, other YouTube channels. And I've learned cold email from other people in the past, and it's just so cool now to see the impact as the industry has grown. The industry of cold email is 100 times bigger than it was when I started. It was this little seed that was only used by B2B companies to sell their software. And now everyone's using cold email. People are using it to start their agencies. People are using it to book meetings with their heroes, to get their dream jobs. And it's cool to see the impact that we've had across millions of people in the cold email industry. I was just at a meetup and I met this kid, Ashley, who has a stutter. And he's also in India. So he was worried that people wouldn't take him seriously on the phone because he had a stutter. He was worried that people were going to pay him less because he was Indian. But he followed our processes, the stuff that we teach, and soon he was able to get these people on the phone. And soon after, he was able to get these people to buy from him. And he told me that he made $30,000 a month from our trainings and from our courses. So he has now succeeded past even a top American salary, but let alone an Indian salary. He has now grown to $30,000 a month. And I hear these stories all the time. We were randomly interviewing somebody else, and she just went on this long rant about how our trainings have helped 2x, 3x her business. There's another woman I know, Christina, who used our services to make $1 million for her web design business. Alex Schreck also was doing software development and was able to close $100,000 off of 4 emails. They were warm emails using the cold email framework that we teach, and he was able to book that business. So we've had now hundreds of successful students, millions of lives impacted, and it's amazing to see. I want you to do the same. So if you want to change your life with cold email, head on down to coldemailuniversity.com, click that link, and join the course. Did we get it?